It seems the sand is shifting on the net zero agenda. First, it was the Uxbridge by-election. Against the odds, the Conservatives retained the seat, largely because of the backlash against the Labour Mayor Sadiq Khan's ULEZ regime. Then what followed was robust rhetoric from the government. The Prime Minister has ordered a review of low-traffic neighbourhoods, promising to come down firmly on the side of the motorist. He told us that net zero needed to be pursued in a proportionate and pragmatic way. Even Tony Blair weighed in, stating that the public must be spared the exorbitant costs of the agenda. Michael Gove gave a glimmer of hope on the question of banning boilers in new buildings by 2025, although later the government restated its intention to keep this policy. Nevertheless, more than 100 North Sea gas and oil licences are being issued by the government, as it happens one that I started as Business Secretary, which is good news because it will help maintain our energy independence. The Tories clearly heard the signal from Uxbridge, as for that matter did Labour, and a Times poll has made this clearer still. YouGov revealed today that support for the 2030 new petrol and diesel ban has slumped by a third. In the run-up to the great fandango of Glasgow's COP26, support was a majority of the population at 51%, but now only just over a third, 36% of voters, back the ban. And who could pretend to be surprised? The majority of the UK are motorists and they can't afford a Tesla, however good Teslas may be. So it's clear that the issue of net zero will be a central one at the next election, and that includes boilers. I mentioned already the foolish plans to ban boilers in all new properties in 2025, but another ban, a lesser-known ban, is on course to hit Britons who live off the grid in the next 3 years and use oil boilers. About 1.7 million homes in the UK have never been connected to the gas grid. They may be too remote or it's not economic to link them up, which means they primarily use oil boilers instead of gas. Now, these boilers are less carbon efficient, which is why the government is forcing anyone who lives off the gas grid who needs to replace their boiler to buy a heat pump. The former Environment Secretary, George Eustice, is leading the latest Tory spout of recalcitrance opposing this forthcoming ban, dubbing it the ULEZ for rural communities. And I should say he has my full support. The policy will particularly affect the regions of the United Kingdom. Most people living in Northern Ireland are not on the gas grid, and that's true for much of Wales and Scotland too. The more remote you are, and very often the poorer you are, the less likely you'll be connected. The average cost of a heat pump, somewhere between £12,000 to £15,000, some are even more. The average cost of a boiler is £1,500 to £5,000. But there are problems with heat pumps. They can either be air sourced or ground sourced, but in spite of government grants of £5,000 or £6,000 towards heat pumps, uptake is only estimated to be about 60,000 in 2022, which is pretty disappointing considering the plan was to have 600,000 installations a year by 2028. But why is this? It's not just the cost, it's the practicality. An air source heat pump needs about 10 square feet of outdoor space, not great if you live in a flat, and ground source heat pumps take even more space and involve digging trenches in your garden. They then have lower temperatures than boilers, so people have to upgrade their radiators, which leads to further cost. Some people might think we should do what Italy did, but they had a system of offering 110% grants for heat pumps, in effect paying for people's heat pumps and then paying more on top of it too. Unfortunately, if you pay more than the cost, it will create fraud. It did, and the policy was abandoned. Ultimately, as with the 2030 new petrol and diesel ban and other net zero policies, the burden of the cost falls on you. And we will never achieve anything by making ourselves cold and poor. As you know, I want to know your thoughts. Don't forget to let me know what you think. Mailmog@gbnews.com.